Hi folks, I wanted to clarify some things with regards to Marine Le Pen's Front National party. She is not far right. Why do the mainstream media want to label her as far right? Because she is anti-EU, anti-Islam and anti-immigration, and the way they deal with these types of parties is by labeling them as far right, because far right is incorrectly associated with the Nazis. According to Merriam-Webster, fascism is defined as 1. A political philosophy, movement or regime, as that of the fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. 2. A tendency toward or actual exercise of strong autocratic or dictatorial control. And we can go deeper into the historical context of the word fascism. The English words fascism and fascist are borrowings from the Italian fascismo and fascista, derivatives of fascio, bundle, fascis, group. Fascista was first used in 1914 to refer to members of fascio, or political group. In 1919, fascista was applied to the black-shirted members of Benito Mussolini's organization, the Fasci di Combattimento, who seized power in Italy in 1922. Playing on the word fascista, Mussolini's party adopted the fascis, a bundle of rods with an axe among them, as a symbol of the Italian people united and obedient to the single authority of the state. The English word fascist was first used for members of Mussolini's fascisti, but it has since been generalized to those of similar beliefs. The Nazis enforced equality on its citizens, and including Austria, where they imposed a 70% tax on people to equalize the population. They centralized and nationalized everything. This is socialist fascism. Historically, communist and socialist states have always been authoritarian because they always required a strong, overbearing and dictatorial government to force people to be unnaturally equal economically and use the state powers to suppress any opposition to that idea, even if it meant murder. But before we can go on, we need to define right-wing and left-wing properly. Right-wing means the rights to freedom, that is, socially and economically. In a truly capitalist system, for example, the rights of the individual and private property are respected and protected by the government. It does not necessarily mean that the government is small, though it does help with reducing taxes. Laissez-faire capitalism, classical liberalism, constitutional republicanism, all of which require essentially the same thing. A government that protects and does not violate rights, these belong on the right. In my view, true capitalism is like a dragonfly. It is rare, beautiful, delicate, but has a very short lifespan. Anything that violates this natural, moral code of living is seen as left-wing. All the individual rights violating systems, communism, socialism, fascism, Islamism, theocracy, democracy, i.e. rule by the majority, and anarchism, rule by gangs, are obverse to individual rights. The middle area consists of all the compromised, mixed, mongrel systems advocated by modern so-called liberals, conservatives and unprincipled tea partiers, as opposed to the good ones, and all those who want government to protect some rights while violating others' rights, whether it be forcing people to fund other people's healthcare, education, retirement, or by forcing people to comply with religious or traditional mores regarding sex, marriage, or drugs. A way to crystallize this spectrum in the mind is to remind yourself that freedom is absolute. There is freedom or there is no freedom. There is no middle ground. Governments have two roles here with respect to rights: protect them or violate them. We can either be free to act on our own judgment and pursue happiness, or we are coerced to some extent. How do you feel about this? Where are you on the scale? So back to the question, is Le Pen far right? Let's look at some key economic and social issues from the party's website. I think it's clear for anyone to see that Front National are not far right. In my opinion, they are middle ground, but slightly on the left. Some of their economic policies with respect to reduction of taxes on small businesses are a good sign, but her social authoritarianism sets her moving to the left in the style of a national socialist, where the state is more important than the individual rights of its citizens. Marine Le Pen's Front National is nothing more than a serious version of UKIP, in that it aims to remain successfully as a party that runs the country after it breaks France free from the EU. A vote for Le Pen is a vote against Islam, another form of authoritarianism, the EU, immigration, and laissez-faire capitalism. Europe will never be a continent that respects individual liberties. And this is where the EU failed, because it, just like the nationalist governments of Europe, refused to recognize the freedom of the individual and instead chose to seize power. What we are seeing with this election is an elaborate form of the French Revolution, with the EU representing the king and the Republic representing the nationalists, where in the end, the nationalists will vote against their own freedom and liberties in a never-ending perpetual cycle of power struggles. Please check out my next video on the NHS and why it's no longer fit for purpose.